FM. It is that part of the show again where we have our guest in for music and chat and stuff as well. We got Robert O'Connor. He's come back to us on the show this evening. We've been talking for the last 25 minutes, I think, and we've pretty much done the whole interview before the interview has actually started, so now we've nothing to talk about, but you haven't heard what we're going to talk about, so we're going to talk about it. Robbie, very welcome along. Thanks for dropping in to say it.
We always do this, Keith, don't we? I come in too early, we have this big conversation, you and I like the same music, and then we have to do it all over again.
Yes, it's good fun anyway. So tell us, you've just recorded a new song, which is actually a cover of a Joni Mitchell song.
So yeah, a new song that's an old song. It's a very old song. It's from 1971. I've wanted to record it for, I'd say, over 5 years now. Obviously, before I did my disappearing act from the music scene, there was no real point to do a standalone Christmas song those years that I wasn't here. So what better time to do it this year after these two original singles that I've done have been, so well received at radio, and it's just the perfect time, I think.
Yeah, so it's good. So you've been really busy. You've been just writing and recording and getting songs together basically, and you've put them out there into the universe again, and things have been going quite strong with it. Yeah,
it's been amazing. Like the first time, I was just saying to you off air there, I had kind of like an 8 to 10 week lead in for the first single this year, which came out in March. I was promoting that and trying to reach out to DJs and bloggers and all press across the world. From my office at home, literally a one-man show for those 8 to 10 weeks. The second single then in the summer, I had half of that amount of time, at about 4 weeks to lead in to promote. But it was easier because of the fact that I had built up those contacts from the first single. And then this third single now, I wanted to do it, but it was only recorded maybe 3-4 weeks ago, tops. We recorded it in November. I'm trying to even remember where we are in the year because it's all been so frantic, but it's the 2nd of December.
It's 2nd December now.
So yeah, literally 3 weeks ago I recorded this song. We were mastering it the day before it was sent to radio, and then we mastered it again the day that it went to radio because we heard a couple of things that we wanted to change. So it couldn't have been any more last minute. The song was recorded in two afternoons. Thursday we did pre-production, and then Friday we did an afternoon of vocals and finished off the production. But the pace that we worked at was just incredible this time. Obviously, having the song written already, being a cover, was an advantage and sped things up. But still, I was very clear from the outset to Stuart Gray, my producer, that I wanted this to sound, to have an approach the same as the other two singles, that it didn't sound like a karaoke cover, is what I kind of said. A lot of people have covered this song, and when we went to look at it, we realised even more people had recorded it than we realised, and a ton of them are Irish. So we had Ronan Keating, we had Mark from Westlife, we had Brian Kennedy, who Stuart had worked with on his Joni Mitchell covers album as well. And so then I felt a little bit concerned, thinking, well, what am I going to bring to this song? What am I going to bring to the table? So it was even more important. The pressure was on to make it my own.
Mm-hmm. Just in terms of, you were talking about Stuart there, you worked with Stuart before, had you, on projects years ago?
No, I worked with Steve Hogan, who introduced me to Stuart, and Steve Hogan produced my first single, Spend the Night, way back. Right. And he did a few tracks on my first album. And then when I came back this time last year, I was looking for a producer to work on all of this new music, and I couldn't find one. I had meetings with people and it wasn't right. I had phone calls with people and it wasn't right. And I just was starting to wonder if I was even going to find anybody in Ireland that was, right for the project. And I rang Steve just as a last, are you still doing this? And he had packed up his studio, but he's still a session drummer. But he said, look, I know who can do it. And I said, right, well, you co-produce, because he's still got the ability, but have someone else lead it. And so I went out for a meeting with Stuart Gray in his studio in the middle of nowhere in Meath, and it just, there was no meeting. We just got to work. So, and from there on in, there's been an unspoken, we had a conversation a few weeks back with Stuart saying, look, I understand if you need to work with somebody else for this or for that or whatever, but ultimately for this project, it is just the 2 or 3 of us. Like, Steve didn't work on this latest single, but he will be back on board for what we do next year. We've found a blend, I think, that works, and there's no reason for me now to stray from that. Where would I be going? I couldn't find anyone else last year, so this is it. This is the recipe.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you, well, if he had worked with you, like what what was the comparison? I suppose what's the comparison of working with other people a couple of years ago to the comparison now working with Stuart?
So I've worked with, I suppose, about 5 different producers over the years. With the Resistance EP from 2012, I worked with 2 guys who are no longer here. They've split. They're both in the UK doing their own thing. That was a much longer process, and they were working with so many different acts at the same time that you would get time slots. You would nearly have an agenda, a timetable for when to come to studio, what was going to be happening that day.
This sounds like the school timetable with 12 subjects on it, and you could only fit 6 or 7 in any day or whatever.
Exactly. It was very organised, very regimental. There wasn't a lot of soul to it. And then when I would go back to them, like there was one song on that record that I wasn't happy with, and I went back to them saying, it's not really what I imagined it to be, and they made a few changes, but still it wasn't there. And I didn't feel like we had the channels of communication open enough that I could really be fully honest with them. So, this time around is very different. Stuart is extremely honest with me. Like, it was really difficult actually. The first day we recorded No Second Chances, and I left completely mentally, physically exhausted from just a couple of hours of vocals, because he is so, honest when he's talking to you in the studio about what he thinks you should change, and that can be difficult. Obviously, you've been sitting on a song for a couple of years that you think it's finished and this is the way it's going to be, and you've been hearing in your head the same way for years, and then suddenly he says, let's make it like a shuffle instead of a ballad and take that line out. Lyrically he doesn't make changes, but stylistically he could make changes, or a word here and there that you end up loving, and that's what a collaboration is about. But equally, I can say to him, look, I really don't like that the sound of that percussion there, and he will 100% change it. And he does say to you every so often, be sure to tell me, because you can be too nice for your own good. You leave the studio with something you're not completely happy about. You don't want to offend somebody, but ultimately you have to live with it. It's your work, it's your name on it. So it has to be right. That's what I love about this current relationship, this working relationship, is that it's very honest, and I think you can hear it in the music that I've kind of found my sound that I've been looking for, and it's a bit of each one of us in there. Like, he's a multi-instrumentalist, and then Steve is a genius on drums and percussion, and it's 3 people, but it could be the work of 7 or 8 people. You look at credits sometimes, and they're endless, but on this project it has just been the 3 of us.
I've seen stuff on Facebook about I don't know, was it Freddie Mercury was like he did everything on one song, and then Beyonce had a list of 16 people that made a song or something.
That's right, yeah.
So
I saw one with Prince as well, because he would just lock himself away and do everything, and that is amazing if you can do everything yourself. But yeah, Beyonce and Ed Sheeran and all these kind of people who write, they're fantastic pop artists, but ultimately that is what they are, as pop artists, and that's not taking away from their talent. But it is a kind of a business. It's a machine. It's it's the same as even the likes of the script now. Like, and I had this conversation. I knew Stuart, I think, had worked with the script years ago, and I said, I don't want this to come out sounding. I said, it is pop, but I don't want it to sound like the script. I don't want it to sound like, and Codaline. I mentioned a few other bands who all obviously massively popular and great, but I wanted a bit of an edge to this, and for it to sound a bit rougher, and I didn't want it to sound very manufactured, and that's why I didn't get into the big machine of working with one of these producers in Dublin who is notorious for their work with any of those acts that I mentioned before. I wanted somebody a little bit under the radar.
Yeah, I got you. Right, we're going to play a song. Which one do you want to go with first?
Let's start at the beginning. Let's start with You Found Me, I suppose.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that, and we'll give this a spin. So here we go. Let's hope it works. Oh, here we go.
Feels like I've been deep underground, buried under the sea. I wasn't safe, wasn't sound. I didn't know I was drifting away, slowly moving beyond. I was going astray. Felt like I had taken a pill, it took the edge of my life. I guess I did my fill, and I was dumbed down. Guess I blended that way. Try to make it in this new society, but you found me and you saw through my lies. Well, I forgot who I was. I thought that part of me died. Oh, you woke me like I've seen a ghost. And I was slipping slowly like a landslide, and I covered my eyes, but from you I can hide. You found me and just saw through my life. Well, I forgot who I was, I thought that part of me died. Oh, you woke me up from the slumber, I was over this life, but now I feel something under my skin. Yeah, you found me when I was going under. Yeah, you woke me Feels like I've been deep underground, feeling comfortably numb. Been this way for a while, and I tried on different lives for a size. Never feeling fulfilled, never satisfied. Yeah, you found me when I was going under.
Oh, you found me there. That is Robert O'Connor. That was a single that got him back on in the music industry at very earlier on in the year. A good ending to that one, wasn't there? Listen to those.
I always smile when I heard that last bit there that Stuart kind of did nearly as a joke, I think, and then we just kept it in.
Brilliant, yeah.
It does have that proper Americana sound to it, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. We were actually talking during the song. I was asking you about your voice and how much has it changed since you're 20 into being 30 or whatever.
Watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's changed. And like I was saying to you before, I am going to sing those old songs next year when I go out to do live shows, and they will be different. And I'm actually really excited about the fact they'll be different because it won't be boring for me to go back and revisit them. You know, I'm going to be able to change them, and the fact that there's now a bit of a country angle on the music, I think they'd have to be sung differently anyway. So change the key, change everything. The lyric and the message and the meaning will still be there at the core, and the melody obviously. But I'm excited to reinvent them.
Yeah. Like often people write songs and then years later they're not happy with them, or that was a particular moment in time where they felt that. Do you still feel that with your old songs, that I still like those songs, or I still have feelings about those songs? Or
I go through phases with them. Like before I recorded this new music, I was picking apart bits of the old music, things that I liked about it, things that I didn't like, and that was kind of and I did that for a very long time. Like I would literally even be at the gym on the treadmill with the earphones on and listening to different versions of things and remixes of things that I had done, even to think, do I want to go more down an electronic route? Do I want to, where do I want to go with this? And I'd listened to so much country then in the later part of last year as well. And I think I said this to you the last time. I'd been in Vegas last year in the summer, and I'd heard a lot of country, and I'd heard this modern country that was like Sam Hunt and Brett Young and people like that who have made it sound so commercial and accessible. And it just really clicked with me while I was over there that I was really feeling what was happening over there at that time, and I wanted to kind of bring a piece of it over here, rather than, obviously we have our own flavour of country, but I don't think there's really any connection between the two sounds at all.
Right, yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. So it's very much, I suppose the country music is just different in the States anyway.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think even within over there, there's different flavours of it. You know, you have the more traditional stuff, and then things like Keith Urban, and you know, that's sort of in the middle, and then you've Chris Stapleton, and you've just and then you've UK acts as well who are going with the Nashville sound.
Yeah.
And it felt like the right time, like, and in some ways, I talked to people about doing this before. Last year I talked about it, you know, while I was away, and so it did feel quite natural. I had done a country cover from Shelby Lynn on my first album, so I think there was always an element of it there, and it was something to explore. I just maybe didn't realise it. I don't think I knew what I wanted to be all those years back, but I think of a much more focused idea now of who it is that I am artistically.
Tell us, you do actually play keyboard and stuff, but you focus on your singing for your live performance, and so you are on the hunt, or you have to get back on the hunt of finding musicians to make a band for yourself. What I do is, I spoke to you about this back in April, and I did want to get out there finding musicians, playing gigs. I played one Radio Awards gig in the summer that was kind of like a PA. I just played to track, which was terrifying, because you know, when you play with an instrumental track, you've obviously nobody on stage, but as well as that, there's a different sound when you have an instrumental that's kind of beneath the vocal, and when you have a band that's really rising you up. So when I went in to do my sound check like an hour before the actual performance, I thought, wow, I've no backing here. This is just me, you know, no backing vocalist, nothing. So I'm really eager to have musicians, and obviously as an independent artist, it is a challenge to find musicians who are right for your sound, and who are the right fit personally. But ultimately, you can't pay them because you're an independent artist. So unless you're earning money from the gig itself, or as you said, if you get performance royalties, you can split them. That's absolutely fine and fair. But if you're playing a bunch of gigs that are unpaid, who pays the musicians? You know, you can say, I'm okay with being unpaid. They have to be the same way as well. And when it's your name on the record and on the gig, it's a little bit like, what are they getting out of it? But look, I've been there before. People have been willing before. I'm sure they will be again. I'm very hungry to get out on stage and to perform these new songs and the old songs and the new stuff I've written for next year. It has to happen. I suppose this year I just ultimately said, you can't do everything at once. Focus on building the online profile. Radio has been massive for me this year. I would say, you know, 70-80% of what has happened this year has been down to radio. I was never a big radio listener back in the day. This year I've listened to so much radio, so many different types of radio, from community to mainstream, to in the US to UK, in Europe. There's been massive support, but I have to make that switch now. I'm giving myself a little bit of a break between singles to perfect the live thing, to get the right people on and get out. Yeah, good. And like, you're someone that probably would have, and I think even myself, you would have started studying journalism, and even when you were studying journalism a couple of years ago, like, you kind of already knew that it was kind of changing anyway, and it's all online media, and radio and internet radio is a very big thing now. That certainly it was talked about years ago, and it's come true anyway. Yeah. First of all, I wish it was a couple of years ago. It was nearly 10 years ago. Okay. But, when I graduated 2009, they kind of were telling us, don't graduate first of all, because obviously the recession happened, worst market to graduate into. So it was like, your qualification, journalism is difficult enough at the best of times, but you're absolutely right, things were changing. So print media was the primary and mainstream radio, whereas now online media is the lead and print is secondary, very much secondary. Yes. Like, I used to kind of think, oh, I got an online feature, it's okay, but it would be really nice to be in, X or Y newspaper. Now, really, newspaper coverage, unless it's on Sunday, where obviously there are still people that buy a lot of Sunday papers and they hang around the house for the week with the magazines and all that kind of thing. That's still a great thing, and you can reach a lot of people that way. But online, for sure, is you're reaching more people. You're reaching people worldwide. Here in Ireland particularly, we're a small country ultimately. And for me, if I didn't have the internet as a tool, I wouldn't be doing this. Certainly not on the scale that I am, because everything that I've done this year has been about, I've been able to control it by having my own website and by making contact and ultimately making friends with all of these bloggers and journalists who have interviewed me and then done it again and written features and put me on playlists over the course of the year.
You know, 5-10 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible because it was very much a closed shop with our national broadcaster and our big titles of newspapers. You can't access them because they're these people who are kind of behind a glass screen in a sense. That's not true on the internet. We can all reach each other.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very positive thing. Like, well, you know, for journalists, I don't know, is it a positive thing? I'm not sure, but you know, because anybody can kind of be one now. You can be a blogger, an untrained journalist essentially. But for me as a musician and as an artist, it is a very positive thing.
Yeah. How do you find as well, do you, like I've noticed it myself, and you've probably noticed that the majority of contacts that you would have made a couple of years ago are obsolete now, and you've changed most of the contacts that you're making now. You have to make loads of, you have to start all over again and make connections with new people that are starting or are in the radio stations or media or whatever they're doing now. So
I feel like in some ways our lives are very parallel in the sense we're doing the same thing during the week, obviously, like you with radio and your management and all that stuff, and I'm kind of on the opposite side, but also self-managed, so we're reaching out to the same people an awful lot of the time. And yeah, I've got spreadsheets upon spreadsheets, and then you're emailing somebody and you're finding out they're no longer with that station, that publication. You're going in, updating. You're like, it's absolute chaos. It's a full-time job to keep your contacts book updated, you know, and you work so hard to build a contact. I had a guy in one of the stations in the UK who loved the singles, and then before I released this one, he was gone, you know, and I sent it to him and he said, oh, I'm not with them anymore. And it's funny, you kind of need to have multiple people in each station and each publication if you want to keep that point of contact, because like you said, people are moving around so quickly and you never know where they're going to be. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough going. It's you have to really keep on the case with it, like. Yeah,
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? For sure. Right, we're going to play No Second Chances. Tell us about this song.
We're going in order.
Yeah, we're going in order. This was the second song, so you were feeling upbeat about the first song, and a lot of attention got around it. Yeah. So then you got this song together.
We recorded this song before You Found Me, the day before. I enjoyed recording You Found Me more because I was already kind of in my groove and it was upbeat and it was fun. This I was pretty much scared to send this because it was my first vocal in 7 years in a studio. So I was very nervous, and it was the first thing I sang when I went into the studio, and I had written it about 3 years prior to recording it. I always said, it was a year. Just goes to show how time flies. When I went back into my phone and found the voice clip that I had recorded, it was like 3 years old. Oh, wow. And I always say, I don't know where this song came from. The lyric and the melody and the whole thing just is and existed, and I would love to know where it came from because I want to go back and find more. I don't know is the honest answer. But here it is anyway.
All right, here we go.
I've got 1 foot in the bedroom, got 1 foot in the hall. You said that things had changed with us, but nothing's changed at all. I got my heart in the palm of your hand, but my mind's already gone. Down the elevator, won't be coming back for more. Now I know it's done and I know we're through, but I don't think that I cannot know you. It's just too hard to be apart. And I know you said no second chances, but it's just too hard to find romance when your heart is holding on to hope. When your heart is holding on to hope. I sit at home alone at night, close the blinds, I dim the lights. I listen to my favorite songs and wonder, how did we go so far wrong? If there's a chance we could start again, if there's a chance we could still be friends, can we go back and begin again? Cause I don't think that it's the end. Well, I know it's done and I know we're through, but I don't think that I cannot know you. It's just too hard to be apart. And I know you said no second chances, but it's just too hard to find romance when your heart is holding on to hope. second chances, but it's just too hard to find romance when your heart is holding on to hope. When your heart is holding on to hope. When your heart is holding on to hope.
There was No Second Chances, and Robert O'Connor, who is with us here on Sunday Night with Keith on Dublin South FM. So, yeah, you had a great experience recording that particular song.
Yeah, it was a challenge, and I think, like, ultimately, if you get what you want out of it, that's the most important thing. It was only a challenge from a vocal point of view in the sense that it had been so long. But like I just said to you there, while the song was playing, I think if I had to play one song to somebody, if somebody said, what does Robert O'Connor sound like? That would probably be the song I'd choose, because it feels timeless. It feels kind of like something that's not going to age badly, and it has a lot of those elements that I imagined to have in my music this year, and it's all there. And you know, thank God we finally got there with it. Like, and it really didn't take that long at all to get what I wanted. I think that's how you know you're working with the right people and you're on the right page, because you know that's the outcome. And it's been, like, even in the UK, so many radio charts, so many like great outcomes on the radio charts in the UK, the independent radio charts, and in the States. It's just been a song that has really carried me to where the next level, to sort of where I need to be, I think, even more so than the first one.
Yeah. So, we're going to go on and talk about the next song that you've put out there, and you're also looking at Christmas competitions and stuff that are happening that might push the song a little bit.
Yeah, so you're a bit more like, so everyone told me, I had a meeting with First Music Contact about 6 weeks ago, and I said, look, I'm thinking about releasing a single in pre-Christmas. And their response was, you're insane, because first of all, it's competition's just, even at an independent level, is too severe at this time of year. It's just the wrong time. And I said, but it's not the wrong time if it's a Christmas single, am I right? And they basically said, well, look, that's a completely different story. It's a Christmas single, it's the only time to release it. So, and I suppose it's not the most obvious Christmas song in the world, but it was a song that was written, around Christmas. And like I said, I've been wanting to record it for years. Now was my opportunity. And then when Stuart found 2 days in his schedule that we could do it in, it just felt totally meant to be. There were sacrifices that I had to make it happen, and I'm glad that I did, because I think, like, some people have heard this and said, I actually think this really just caps off your year. For me to have left it at that after No Second Chances and waited till next year, there would have been again a 6 to 9 month lull. And I feel like, don't drop the ball, just keep going, and that was kind of my motto this year, is keep that momentum going. So hopefully this will do that for me.
Yeah, great. And I suppose it's important that if you're not constantly releasing music, that people start forgetting about you as well, isn't that kind of a...
Yeah, we just live in this environment where everything is so fast paced, and with social media, like, I haven't taken any break between promos, so one single has run into the other, whereas previously it wouldn't have been unusual to have a 2 month silence between releases, or even a 3 month silence. This is no longer about just singles, it's about overall profile. And I think I've done a lot of thinking about what's going to happen next year, because ultimately I originally thought, this is a tester year, it's a hobby, it's fun, it's something I need to do for myself. Now there's an awareness of the music, and DJs are saying, put us on your mailing list, send us what's next. So now it's like, I have to
there's
keep
a demand
going.
There's a demand for it as well.
And because it's just really me in the equation, it's like I have to think about, okay, what next? And I have got singles written for next year, and I have to make those plans now, which is probably explains why I'm so exhausted, because I'm promoting this single right now, but I'm also thinking about what I have to get ready for what's next. You're always thinking 3 months ahead, and you're trying to think of who supported you this time, getting them on board for the next time, who you didn't reach this time that you can get on board the next time. It's very constant, but it's the way it has to be. And if you're not doing it, somebody else will do it. So I'm sure it's how
you're always thinking about what's going well and what can I do better. Isn't that kind of what you're thinking?
Absolutely,
all the time?
Yeah. And the more positivity you get back from people at radio, and when I come into people like yourself and we're chatting about it, it definitely reignites that spark to keep going and to keep pushing, because it's like it's harder to get the ball rolling at the beginning. It's now going, and I just need to keep it moving. And as well, like Stuart even texted me when he heard the single on radio, and we got a lot of radio play within the first kind of 3-4 days of it being released to radio. And he said, "Let's come back in the studio now. Let's get this next single locked down." Now, I'm too busy at the moment to do it right now, but we definitely know where we're going. And in the last week, I've started to have other ideas about, I'm seeing kind of the resurgence of popularity in the physical CD and vinyl and all those kind of things. And I definitely want to do something physical next year and have these songs on some form of collection, we'll say.
So the EP is the next kind of step?
I think so. I feel, and I always said, like, there were rumours even, I don't know where they started, but that there was going to be an album this year, and there never was going to be an album this year. It was very much about 2 to 3 singles, and luckily I got to this 3rd single. Next year I think more singles, but that culminating then very much kind of, I would say, in the 2nd quarter of the year with something physical with all those songs on it, so that, because recently I've started handing out these CDs to people in reality, because obviously it's usually downloads and streaming even more so, but there's a certain age profile and demographic that are listening to you being interviewed on radio that don't stream, that don't download, and for them there's got to be a way to pick up this music. So I feel in some ways that maybe I've tapped into that profile where, because they've been successful at radio, physical product is necessary. So I want to get these songs and give them another chance on physical, and definitely have new singles on there as well. So it will be
a collection of songs.
It will be a collection of songs. Yeah. It won't be an album because it's too soon for that. Yeah. It'll be a collection of songs that will, the fact that I'll be live gigging, there'll be something there that people can take home, and you're essentially promoting something that's not just a file online. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, people go and play their singer-songwriter nights, or might even play a bigger gig, and then they don't have CDs, and people are looking for. Yeah. People are like, but you could search my name and you could search the song on Spotify or whatever. Yeah. But people's memories are not very good. Whereas if they have the CD with them,
that's the problem. And then you think, do people have CD players? But look, they do. It's like there's people, in their cars and things like that. Yeah. It is. It's funny. We're in a bit of a funny place again, because as they're going out of fashion, they're kind of coming back in a retro nostalgic way. So you really don't know where you stand. So you have to kind of cover all bases. And then obviously vinyl is getting huge again, with LPs, and it's very difficult to know. Like this year, it was about budget, so it was about being conscious of not spending money on it. And I didn't spend anything outside of production, because iTunes and Spotify and Apple Music, if you go with the right people, it's not going to cost you anything. So now the music is out there, it's heard, but not that I can afford to, but I know that there will be a necessity for me to put it there and have something tangible. And also, looking back at the previous albums and singles I've done, it would be a shame not to have something to kind of put beside them in the collection. It feels like next year will be the right time to do that. And as well as that, there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to hear these songs at gigs that have never heard them before. So they'll have another opportunity to live at that.
And tell us, like, many years ago when you were releasing EPs and an album, like, was it costing you an awful lot of money to put together, or were you spending money on PR, or how did that all go? And like, how much is it different, or how much are you doing it differently now as opposed to?
Well, I'm doing everything myself this time, aside from the production. So as soon as I have the record in my hand, or well, it's it's in the stratosphere out there somewhere in the cloud. Once I have the file, then it's like, right, tackle all the DJs and the blogs and get photos done and get, write a press release. And it's very much like, once you've done it once, you rinse and repeat, and you find your angle. And each single you have the same approach with, even though you might approach with this one, it's a Christmas station or single, so you might approach Christmas stations and Christmas shows, things like that. That's a little bit different, and that's a learning curve for me. But the last time you would surrender it to someone else's hands, And then you would just hope that they were doing the right thing, and they were doing what they were paid to be doing. And then there were times in between where I would try to do it myself, but didn't have the resources or the knowledge or the plan. This time, everything was in the plan. It was all about, giving myself adequate time and not saying, hey, I'm releasing a single next Friday, and then hoping that radio would just, play it. It was about actually spending a month or 2 months alerting everybody in advance, because the media is working on a different schedule than not than you or I, we're in it as well, but than the general public. They're planning what's happening at Christmas back in September, October. So you have to be on their schedule.
Yeah, very much so. And I suppose then you've your experience in the industry as well, which is helping you tackle this.
Yeah.
As a manager on your own terms.
Definitely. And I could see, as you were talking about, that change from journalism to social media. Like, I went in as a journalist, I left as a social media manager. And it's like
I just wasted my time there.
Yeah, I would do a lot of things on a day-to-day basis, posting memes when I was working for the websites and stuff. And I would think, what is this? This isn't journalism, but it is what journalism is now in some ways. It's more interactive. It's all about catching people's attention in the shortest possible time frame. But yeah, it's massively helped, and I'm glad that it has, because it wasn't particularly lucrative at the time of doing it. And the fact that sort of the rug got pulled from under me when that website I was working for closed down pretty much overnight. It's nice to say, well, look, I got tools out of it. I practiced this skill that I can now use for myself. I can line my own pockets with it instead of somebody else's.
Right, we're going to play this song. River, yes. Joni Mitchell.
Let's play it.
Let's play it.
It's coming on Christmas, they're cutting down trees, they're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. I wish I had a river I could skate away on, but it don't snow here, it stays pretty green. I'm gonna make a lot of money, and then I'm gonna quit this crazy scene. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I made my baby cry. You try tried hard to help me, you know you put me at ease. And you love me so naughty, you made me weak in the knees. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I'm so hard to handle, I'm selfish and I'm sad. Now I've gone and lost the best baby that I ever had. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I made my baby say goodbye. It's coming on Christmas, they're cutting down trees, they're putting up reindeer, singing songs of joy and peace. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I wish I had a river. I wish I had a river.
That was River there from Robert O'Connor. You're listening to Sunderland with Keith on Dublin South FM. We somehow managed to come across the instrumental version, and then we had to go and find the version with your vocals in it. And so you're ready for the gig anyway.
I don't know how you got your hands on that instrumental, Keith, but
So you're ready for the next gig with the backing track.
well, the backing track's there. But yeah, we weren't obviously supposed to play that, but I kind of broke out in a sweat within the first 2 seconds of not hearing my vocal, and then nearly had one little Kanye West diva fit. But we ran around the studio and eventually found the correct version, thankfully.
It's good fun, isn't it? Oh, I'll tell you. Yeah.